We've got matches that are going all the way from Friday through Sunday, but spread out a little bit. And we're gonna do things a little bit chronological for everybody here. So let's just start at the top. We've got Washington Spirit versus Racing Louisville FC kicking off on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find that one on Paramount Plus. Let's talk a little bit about where these two teams were last week, Lisa, as we recap these things, because we always ask each other for picks, and I want that too. We got to make these picks as well. So I'm going to ask you, do you have a winner in this one and why? And I also want to hear you and your thoughts about maybe these two teams coming off of some tough results last week.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You have to look at the history of these individual clubs and what they're doing. Racing Louisville is coming off of their third straight loss and a tough one at that, where they conceded 6 goals in just their last 2 games. Their last match against Angel City, they only lost it 3-2. So Racing able to get 2 goals on the board, but ultimately not able to pull away with the win. And that final goal from Angel City coming in the stoppage time, the 93rd minute of that match against Angel City. So for Racing Louisville, it's almost a dagger to the heart after what they've faced with the last couple of weeks. And then just the week before that for Racing Louisville, again, coming off of a really tough 3-0 loss against North Carolina Courage. And that was North Carolina's first win that they were able to secure in this regular season. Then when we look at a team like Washington Spirit, they've won 1 game in this regular season, and that was the first week. May 1st was Washington Spirit's first and only win of this regular season. That's not a very good stat, right? So 5 of those matches have been draws for Washington Spirit, but since then they haven't been able to sneak out a win. Now their goal differential is actually pretty good. It's only -2 for this Washington Spirit team, but they're coming off of another tough 3-2 loss. So it's identical score lines for both of these teams from last weekend to this weekend. Heading into this weekend, match day 8 in the NWSL for Washington Spirit, I see them walking away with a win over Racing Louisville. It's been a long time coming for this Washington Spirit team. They've had so many quick turnovers with their Wednesday matches to the weekend slates that have been such quick turnarounds. They played Chicago twice in 7 days. They've been hit a little bit with injury and players coming back. We saw the return of Kelly O'Hara. She got 15 minutes in the back line for Chris Ward last weekend for Washington Spirit. So for this team in particular, they've had a break. They've had a minute to take a deep breath. They've had a minute to collect themselves in training. And now as they go to face a team in Racing Louisville that they'll be playing at Segra Field, which is quick succession for Washington Spirit. They've played 3 of the last 4 matches at Segra Field. So if anything, they've got a little bit of an upper hand there, but ultimately I think Washington's going to get back on the winning side of things this weekend against Racing Louisville. What about you, Sandra? What are you thinking for Racing Louisville and Washington Spirit?
I'm going back. I've been going back and forth on this one. It's always the first one, I think, that we're doing these previews that always sort of set things in motion for me when it comes to the picks. But this is a Washington Spirit side that we've been talking about through the start of this season, these first 2 months, and just sort of the match heavy schedule that they've had in front of them. Just how, frankly, in some of these more recent matches, they've looked just tired. They've looked gas, at the end of them. We've been seeing the attempt to sort of make some of these player rotations. Chris Ward is doing his best with what's in front of him. And I think you're adding in this other element when you're the Washington Spirit side, that you've got multiple players who are going to be leaving very soon for national team duty. So there's the friendlies against Colombia that will be coming up, and then you sort of roll into July and with the CONCACAF W Championship. And I'm just curious how that's going to maybe impact the roster that we see, or the lineup that we see that the Spirit put out against Racing. And I also wonder, there's also this other component for me where it's like, well, you always want to have a good game. I think if a lot of these athletes, that we've heard them talk about that on record before, that they want to have a good game or good performance, minutes under their belt before they go off to to a national team camp for players who do have that kind of dual duty. So I do wonder if maybe in a game like this, you still do a little bit of rotation, before kind of making that, that taking that next leap into the next, the next stretch of games. Because a lot of these players for the Spirit technically aren't going to have that rest, because a good chunk of them are going to be going in to compete to this. So I'm curious if maybe this game is still going to have some rotation for the Spirit before they have to have games in front of them on the 25th and the 28th with USWNT. So I am also I am leaning more towards a draw on this one, but I want to pick a winner, and I think that the Spirit are going to take this one narrowly. I think they are going to take this game and they're going to take it narrowly. I think even with something like, if we see something like a full second half rotation in this game, that is still enough to present to a Racing Louisville FC side that we are still a little unsure of who we're getting week to week, right? In terms of the performances on the pitch. Good pieces. We like some of these individual performances that we've been seeing from some of the players on the pitch, but it's like now at this point, it's a little bit of a mixed bag when we're seeing and evaluating Racing week in and week out. And I think even with the heavy match load for the Spirit, even with the heavy rotation that has been coming into play, we still can identify the system in play for the Spirit, plugging in players in certain position and what they are going to bring on the pitch. So whether it's something like a Trinity Rodman and Ashley Sanchez getting the first 45 to just take a game to Louisville and try to see if they can get the win, or if they come into the second half and try to do things that way and run the other team down, I think that's another added component. And then again, but you also have something like Segra. The fact that this is going to be at Segra Field was like, maybe this is going to be a draw, because that's not an advantage for anybody, even though it's going to be the Spirit hosting this one. So I'm going to say that I'm going to choose a winner. I'm going to say it's the Spirit, and I'm going to say that it's going to be narrow for this one. So we'll see how that shakes up in the recap, and we got to take a look at that. But that's it for Friday. Let's take a look into Saturday. There's a double header happening on Saturday. Let's start with Kansas City Current versus Chicago Red Stars. That one on Saturday, kicking off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. That one you can also find on Paramount Plus. Kansas City Current coming off of a narrow win, but a win is a win, right? We talk about that all the time. Kirsten Hamilton, game winner. Who do you got in this one, and why, Lisa?
So I love this question that you're posing to me, which is not an unusual question, right? You always ask me who is going to win, and you love when I go the way of Chicago because you're a Chicago gal. However,
this is Kansas City though.
I am going with a Kansas City win in this match. So we like to look at the history a little bit. Kansas City undefeated in their last 3 games. Chicago also undefeated in their last 6 games, but they've had really narrow wins. Their most recent one coming over Orlando. It was a 1-0 win. A goal came early in this match, which is something Chicago does. So I honestly see a high-scoring match between Kansas City and Chicago, but with Kansas City coming out on top in this one. Unfortunately, Kayla Sharples, center back for Chicago, dealing with a bit of an injury, which does change things up for Chicago. They still have Mallory Pugh, which means they're probably going to get a goal. So I'm going to give Chicago a goal because Pugh just has that je ne sais quoi that she can do that. However, with Kansas City, we've seen the trade happen last weekend with Cece Kaiser coming over and her getting the start alongside Christen Hamilton. That duo was fun. It was electric. They had some good movement off each other. Now imagine them with 1 week of training under their belt and what they're able to do with that much more familiarity. I'm sure some of the sparks will have faded as Kaiser was playing in front of her hometown. It was a trade. She was looking to make a big mark, and maybe that's why she had such a great game. But I think the training and being with Matt Potter and understanding team tactics a little bit will help Kaiser and what she's able to do. I've been really high on the rookies for Kansas City, Alex Luera, Jenna Weinbrenner, Elise Bennett, what they've been able to do and contribute. I think it's a team effort from Kansas City that we're seeing this year that's made them so influential and so good on the pitch. So when I look at these two sides, I don't want to say it's going to be a high scoring affair. However, I think Chicago's going to get a goal, but I still think Kansas City's going to win. So that means at least 3 goals in this match, according to my prediction. So I'm going to stick with that.
I respect it. I know you're high in Kansas City. I'm high in Kansas City too. I still want to see a little bit more from them. And when I'm looking at these two matches, this is the matchup why I didn't go with the draw with the Spirit and Racing, because when I'm looking at these two teams and knowing what we've seen from Kansas City, despite them having some exciting pieces, despite us being very, very high on Elise Bennett, love the way she is playing. For whatever reason, Kansas City has struggled to have multi-goal games this season. So while I think they are capable of scoring against the Chicago Red Stars team that has to make an adjustment in light of Kayla Sharples, again, we're recording this ahead of an availability report that has dropped, but we saw the Red Stars in the midst of their previous match, as Kayla Sharple exited pretty early, around the 25th minute or so, kind of had to scramble to make an adjustment, and they looked a little bit lost, but they've had a different week of preparation. Now they're going into this match knowing that they might have to make some adjustments defensively. And that's a little bit different when you're building up to a game versus having to make that immediately in the middle of a game. So I think there's enough there in Chicago's overall shape that can present enough challenges to this Kansas City Current side, who have struggled to really stack up on multi-goal games in the league this year. And when you have a player like Mal Pugh, who is quite frankly having an MVP caliber type of year in 2022, you maybe say that is a team that has a chance. I do not know. I do not believe, however, that this is going to have a winner. And I really do think that it's going to shake out as a draw, because the other added component of this is these are two teams that are not unfamiliar with each other. Recent adjustments that they have to make or not. These two teams that had to play each other through the Challenge Cup, the current getting the better of the Red Stars both those times. And this is a different element in terms of how these teams have navigated their regular season. We're seeing different performances from these two teams from their Challenge Cup meetings into this regular season. So while I would have loved to have gone with Chicago and tip my hat, there's just too many unknowns there right now defensively. And I think there's going to be the makings of a draw in this one. So let's move ahead to OL Reign versus Angel City. Last one for Saturday. That one is going to be kicking off at 10 p.m. Eastern. This one you can find on Twitch. Lisa, again, I just talked a little bit about teams that have familiarity with each other. We've got OL Reign versus Angel City. Let's talk about it. Who are you picking and why?
Lots of familiarity between these two because they played in the Challenge Cup against each other. OL Reign taking both of those games over Angel City, 2-1 and then 3-1, the first matchup that they faced each other. Now, Angel City, I think we have to talk about it at this point. We mentioned it in our midweek episode, but Christen Press is out, done for the year, suffered a ACL injury, torn ACL. Devastating and heartbreaking for this Angel City side, a team that signed Press as the face of their team, the hometown girl coming back to Southern California to play. She put this team on her shoulders and she led them to an incredible place at number 4th in the standings at this point in the season for an expansion club. They were doing really well, right? Like they're coming off 2 undefeated matches. They're coming off of a win for Angel City that they just won over Racing Louisville 3-2. We're finally seeing the progression from Angel City and that hit its consistency peak where they started the Challenge Cup and they couldn't really keep possession of the ball. It was more like, we'll just kick it and kind of find out what happens. We don't have a lot of solid defense. Throughout the Challenge Cup, their defensive structure really took place. And that is a lot to do with Megan Reed in the back line, Vanessa Gilles in the back line, Didi Herrera in goal, doing so much defensive work to lock down what they're doing. And then we saw a lot of rotation in the outside back, right? Jasmine Spencer dealing with a bit of an injury now. So Tyler Lucy slotted in there. However, that center back duo and the goalkeeper duo defensively were incredibly impressive for Angel City. With the ball, we saw Angel City progressing into this team that could have sustained possession, that could work the ball around, that could make their opponents chase and defend and have to work really hard. Most recently, we saw Angel City take that progression one step further. And no, they weren't just keeping the ball and passing it around, but they were possessing with a purpose down the field, getting closer to goal with every touch that they took, every pass that they made. So instead of every 30 passes getting a shot on goal, it became every 15 passes. And when you're having that rate of attacking presence and production in your attacking end, you are going to win games with 3 goals. And that's what we saw them do against Racing Louisville. Now with Christen Press being injured, that takes a big deflation out of their attack and what she was able to do. And I'm so sad talking about this, honestly, because it really breaks my heart. But a team like OL Reign that is coming into this game against Angel City, having come off of 2 back-to-back, a loss and then a tie most recently for OL Reign, but a team that has not been able to put up a lot of goals. I'm waiting for that breakthrough to come for OL Reign. We saw a goal from Jess Fishlock in moments in that game the last time that OL Reign played against San Diego, and they were able to come out with the tie in that match. But OL Reign's got to find the back of the net. And I'm honestly torn at this game right now. It might be my draw. I'm thinking that this one might be my draw between OL Reign and Angel City, because there's something about having your star player go down with a season-ending injury that rejuvenates a team and gives them a bit of a fire to go out and say, hey, we're going to do this for Press. We're going to win this for her. We're going to keep going for her. So I think that could give Angel City a huge spark. And for OL Reign, I just don't see them putting up more than 1 goal. If that. I don't they're not going to put up 2 goals, right? So I would love to come back on here on Sunday or Monday and say, wow, OL Reign, you scored 2, you scored 3, great job, but I don't see that happening. So I'm going to stick with the draw between Angel City and OL Reign in this match. My long-winded way of saying I'm going with the draw.
I respect it. Listen, I think when you're looking at these games with the matchups in between them, especially the ones that have the added element of familiarity with each other, because not only we're talking about teams that have played each other a couple times prior in the Challenge Cup. There are a lot of teams now hitting this point of the regular season that have already faced their opposition at least once prior within the regular season itself. So you're adding all these different elements to it. So I don't listen. I respect it. I don't blame you for going with the draw in this one. But when I'm looking at these 2 teams, I'm going with OL Reign as my pick for the winners in this one. I hope it is a multi-goal game. I hope we finally see that type of breakthrough for.
I hope so too. I honestly hope so too.
I am a little curious as to how the Angel City side will make their adjustments around OL Reign in light of also having to make an adjustment in losing such a big piece of their offense in Christen Press. Like, how does that? How do you make these adjustments? What are the decisions that you are making to both adjust for the challenge that you have on your own front line and then the challenge on trying to limit the attack of OL Reign? Because you're 100% correct in that, saying like this is a team OL has struggled to find the back of the net. But within a lot of these games, I think unlike other teams, the numbers from this team are a little bit different when we're watching their attack, the way that we've been seeing them, performing their build up to goal, the way that we've been seeing, their number of crosses, the way that it's how evident it is that they are ensuring that Sofia Huerta is a big part of that attack, despite having a lower role on the pitch, where we're seeing all that come into play for this OL Reign side. And while I'm not sure if this one is going to be a game where it's going to be a multi-goal game, I do think there is enough for OL Reign to come out into this game and pick up a win. I do also feel that something like, the familiarity, the different type of travel it is, like it's different going from LA to Seattle. If you were going from maybe New York to Seattle, it's a much different fight. So even like something like travel on the legs, like that's going to be very, very different as well. I think in this match as we're trying to take note of those types of things. But I want to see that type of win for OL Reign. I think they're overdue for it, quite frankly. We're talking about narrow score lines or narrow losses. Just the week they had this 1-1 draw against San Diego Wave where they equalized. They had to come from behind and ensure that they got that equalizer, and they did it by Jess Fishlock, who just roofed it in the back of the net, and it was enough for a result. But even if you go the week prior to that, a narrow loss against the Chicago Red Stars team. So there's these competitive games that we're seeing from OL Reign that maybe aren't leading to the type of score lines that maybe they even anticipated for themselves. But I just feel like we're starting to veer into these moments where we're ready to see some different things. And I'm excited to see the addition and sort of the development around somebody like not the development, but just the addition or the added boost that somebody like a Kim Little can bring to this team. I know they announced that her loan is going to be very, very short term. It's going to be through June, through the start of the next season for Arsenal. But so it's going to be very, very short term. So she has a limited window to make an impact. So I think it also just depends on the personnel that Laura Harvey is going to put out there on the pitch. Quite frankly, like how is she going to rotate? What is that lineup going to look like? And how is she going to make an adjustment? If
I want to see
if the game plan for Angel City is like, hey, Tyler Lucy, you go out there and you mark Huerta all game, like that. You're like, what's the adjustment that's going to be made if that is the plan from Angel City? So I'm eager to sort of see the coaching battle in this one, as well as the player performances. But I am going to go with a winner, and I am going to go with the Ring in this one.
I like that you're talking about this coaching battle, because it is something that needs to be talked about, especially for this match. But yeah, when we're looking at certain personnel for OL Reign, they need to have that statement game, right? It's been too long that we haven't seen that from OL Reign throughout this year. And I want to see different players stepping up. I want to see Bethany Balser just knocking down 2 goals and Ziara King making an impact on the flanks, and Rose Lavelle just taking this game and saying, I'm going to control this, and I'm going to get 2 assists, and I'm going to rip a shot from 35 yards out, upper 90. Like that's what I want to see, not relying on Fallon Tullis-Joyce to make incredible saves game in and game out to keep OL Reign even. No, the offense has got to produce, and now's the time. Let's do it, OL Reign. But I still see this as a draw.
Yeah. I love you. Like it. I love it.